In the shadow of ancient ruins where history's forgotten whispers linger in the air, there is a curse older than civilization itself. A curse that stains bloodlines. A curse that transforms men into monsters beneath the gaze of the full moon. Greece, a land of myths and legends, is more than a collection of stories passed down through the ages. Here, the gods still walk among the shadows, their ancient retribution falling upon those who dare to challenge their will. But even the gods cannot face the darkness that grows in the hearts of men. There is one such man, Damian, a descendant of Lycaon, the first werewolf. A man who, like his ancestor, is cursed to bear the monstrous legacy of the wolf. For years he has lived in the silence of ignorance, unaware of the terror coursing through his veins. But when the full moon rises, so does the beast within him. And tonight, as the shadows of his past threaten to consume him, Damian must face the truth of who he really is and what he has become. Can he control the savage power that sleeps within? Or will he succumb to the beast, leaving only destruction in his wake? But before we dive into this tale of blood and vengeance, remember this. This is not just a story. This is a warning. The line between man and monster is thinner than you think. One wrong step and you too could be swallowed by the beast. If you're ready to witness the horrors that await, and if you dare to discover the truth behind the Last Lament of Lycaon, hit that like button, share this with those brave enough to listen and subscribe, because what you're about to hear, it's only the beginning. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. The sun had barely dipped below the horizon, and the city of Argolis began to settle into its familiar nocturnal rhythm. The streets grew quieter, and the evening air carried the distinct scent of salt from the nearby Aegean Sea. Yet, for one man, Damian, the night felt like a suffocating weight, an oppressive reminder of something dark and buried deep within him. I remember the first time I noticed it. It was subtle at first, like the faintest shadow flickering at the edge of my vision. The dreams began soon after, strange and disjointed, filled with flashes of teeth and fur, of howls that sent chills crawling under my skin. The full moon seemed to beckon, a constant presence that haunted the edges of my awareness. But what really unsettled me was the way the changes felt, the way my body would ache for no reason at all, muscles straining against skin, my heart racing with a primal urgency. I thought I was losing my mind, as if something ancient was trying to claw its way out of me. And yet there was something else, something undeniable in the air, an almost tangible pull toward something I could not understand. It was a slow descent, like a man walking into the sea, unaware that the water was rising. I hadn't told Elena about it. How could I? She, a scholar of ancient myth, would never take me seriously. To her, the past was a series of dusty pages and forgotten bones, not something that could reach out from the shadows and claim you. But she was wrong. The past is never truly gone. It waits, and it finds you. The evening she found it, the heirloom, was the evening that everything changed. Damian's father had passed away suddenly. A heart attack, the doctor said. But something about his death didn't sit right. No warning signs, just the suddenness of it all. In the days that followed, Elena and I found ourselves going through his belongings, sorting through the fragments of a life that had, in many ways, been a mystery to me. That's when I found it. A small wooden box hidden beneath the floorboards of my father's study. It was old, too old, and the moment I touched it, a shiver ran through me, though I thought nothing of it at the time. Inside, nestled among a few other trinkets and papers, was an amulet, intricately carved with symbols I didn't recognize. It felt cold to the touch, like it had absorbed the chill of centuries. "What is it?" Elena asked, peering over my shoulder as I held the amulet in my hand. "I don't know," I replied, my voice distant, "but it feels important." She took the amulet from me, inspecting it closely. "It looks ancient. Perhaps it's from your family." I felt a strange, inexplicable unease as I stared at the small object. I didn't know why, but I had the feeling I should leave it alone. But Elena, ever the scholar, had to know more. She took it to a local historian, a man named Dimitri who specialized in ancient Greek myths. It was there, In the cold, dim-lit room of his office that I learned the truth. Lycaon, Dimitri said, his voice a low murmur as he traced the symbols with his finger. The first werewolf in Greek mythology, a king cursed by Zeus for his hubris. The name sent a shockwave through me like a lightning strike hitting the very core of my being. I had heard of Lycaon, of course, the stories, the legends, but they were just that, stories. Legends, Dimitri continued, his voice growing more solemn. Lycaon was cursed, transformed into a beast as punishment for his sins. The curse passed down through his bloodline, making each descendant a werewolf. Your father, Damian, must have kept this amulet as a reminder of a legacy that should have been forgotten. I felt my hands tremble as the truth sunk in. This cursed legacy, this creature of myth, was a part of me. It had always been a part of me. I walked back to our apartment that night in a haze, the weight of the discovery pressing down on me. The moon hung in the sky like a silent sentinel, watching over me. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to turn away from it, to pretend it was just a myth, a relic of ancient times with no bearing on my life. But I couldn't. The first transformation came just days later. It was a night like any other, or so I thought. Elena had gone out to meet a colleague for dinner, leaving me alone. The full moon was high in the sky, its light piercing through the thin curtains of our bedroom window. I felt restless, an energy building inside me, a hunger that I could not suppress. And then it began. My body screamed as my bones cracked and shifted as the air grew thick with the scent of blood and fur. The pain was unbearable, burning, tearing, reshaping. I could hear the sounds of my own body breaking, transforming, becoming something monstrous. And through it all, I could hear the thudding of my own heart, wild and primal, a rhythm I couldn't control. I collapsed to the floor, my mind screaming in terror. My limbs were no longer mine. My skin was covered in thick, coarse fur. My hands became claws, my senses heightened beyond human comprehension. But worst of all, I felt the animal inside me. The beast, a thing I had inherited from my cursed bloodline, take control. In that moment, I was no longer Damian. I was something else. I don't remember much of what happened after that, but I do remember Elena's voice, calling my name, her fear. And in that moment, I knew if she came any closer, I would hurt her. I ran. I ran into the night, into the forest, away from the only person who had ever truly loved me. As I lay in the woods, my body twitching in the aftershocks of the transformation, I knew one thing for certain: this was only the beginning. The beast inside me was not a myth, it was real. And it was only a matter of time before I could no longer control it. But I also knew this: I couldn't let Elena see it. I couldn't let her become part of this curse. The next day, she looked at me differently. I could see it in her eyes. She was afraid, and I couldn't blame her. The following days were a blur. Time seemed to slip away from me as I fought to keep my humanity intact. I tried to hold on to the remnants of my old life, the life before the curse had taken root in my veins, before I had learned the truth. But the more I tried to suppress it, the stronger the pull became. The pull of the full moon, the pull of the beast inside me. I couldn't escape it. The walls of our apartment felt smaller, suffocating, as if the very air was thick with the curse that had been passed down through generations. Elena, she knew. She didn't have to say it, but I could feel it. The fear, the doubt. It was there in the way she looked at me, the way she hesitated when I reached out to touch her. The woman who had once held me close now kept her distance, as if she feared the very breath I took. She didn't understand. How could she? No one could. The moon grew fuller with each passing night, and with it, the rage inside me built. I could feel it in my chest, my heart pounding in a frantic rhythm, a primal urge pushing me to run into the night, to let the beast out. It was always there, a whisper in the back of my mind, reminding me that I wasn't human anymore. But I refused to let it take me. I couldn't, not yet. I tried everything. The pills that the doctors had given me, the therapy sessions where I spoke of my nightmares, my fears, but nothing worked. No amount of medication could suppress the change. The moon called to me, and with it, my bloodline's terrible legacy. I tried to control it, tried to lock myself away, but the cage was crumbling. and so was my mind. The night Elena left me is the night everything shattered. It wasn't the full moon, not yet. But the change was already in me, like a cancer eating away at the core of my soul. Elena came to me, her face soft with concern, her voice trembling as she begged me to tell her what was going on. "I know you're hiding something, Damian. You're not the same. Please just talk to me." But I couldn't. I couldn't tell her the truth. That the thing I feared most was me. She reached for me, her hands warm, comforting. But then something inside me snapped. I saw her, but I didn't see her. I saw prey. The hunger surged, the beast's grip on me tightening. My senses exploded, every sound, every movement amplified. I saw her as a threat, an obstacle standing between me and the wildness I longed to unleash. I stepped back, my breath coming in ragged gasps, my body trembling with the effort to hold myself together. But Elena wouldn't let go. She reached for me, her hands desperate. "Damian, please, I need you, don't push me away." I recoiled, my claws, sharp and unfamiliar, catching the light. My eyes, I knew, had turned. They were no longer human. They were the eyes of the wolf, glowing with an unnatural hunger. I growled, low and guttural, warning her to stay away. But Elena didn't listen. She stepped closer. The change happened so quickly I barely had time to react. One moment I was Damian, grasping the last shreds of my humanity, and the next I was nothing but rage and hunger. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet, my hands transforming into claws, my body swelling with muscle, fur spreading across my skin. My bones cracked, reshaping, twisting, and then there was nothing but the sound of my own heartbeat, my furious breath, and the image of Elena standing there, her eyes wide, filled with fear and confusion. I couldn't stop it. The beast was in control. I awoke in the woods, my clothes shredded, my body covered in blood and dirt. The moon hung high, casting a cold, pale light over everything. I tried to remember, tried to piece together the moments before the transformation took over, but it was all a blur. My body ached, not from the usual pain of a transformation, but from something deeper, something worse. I couldn't recall what had happened, but I could feel it. I could feel the weight of the guilt pressing down on me like a stone. When I made my way back to the apartment, the door was ajar. The silence was suffocating. There was no sign of Elena, just a note, hastily, scribbled on a piece of paper, abandoned on the kitchen counter. "I'm leaving. I can't live like this anymore. I love you, but I can't stay. You're not the man I knew." I could feel the air around me growing heavy, as if the walls themselves were closing in. The blood drained from my face. Panic rose in my chest. Where had she gone? Had I driven her away with my madness? Or was there something darker at play? The answer came sooner than I expected. The phone rang in the dead of night, a shrill, terrifying sound that cut through the silence like a knife. I picked up the receiver, my hands trembling. Damian, the voice on the other end was unfamiliar. Rough, a man's voice. "You need to come. She's gone." I arrived at the police station, disoriented, desperate, but prepared to hear the worst. They didn't need to say it. I saw the way the officers looked at me, their eyes narrowing as if they already knew who I was. What I was. Elena was dead. The details were sketchy. They said it was an animal attack. An attack so brutal that it could only have been the work of something far beyond natural. Her body had been found on the outskirts of the city, torn apart. The scene was too horrific to be a simple animal attack, but the authorities couldn't explain it. I knew, deep down, I knew it wasn't me. I hadn't killed her, but I had to find out who had, and so began the search. The hunt for answers, the hunt for the truth. But the truth was buried deep, locked away in the shadows of ancient myths and cursed bloodlines. The werewolf cult was real. They were not just creatures of legend. They were hunting me, hunting us because of what I was, and I was going to stop them. The weeks that followed Elena's death were a blur, a chaotic whirlwind of fear, grief, and rage. I couldn't escape the feeling that something far darker was pulling me into its depths, and I had no choice but to follow. The cult was real. I could feel their eyes on me, always lurking just beyond my awareness. At night, when the moon hung heavy in the sky, I would hear the whispers of their presence, unnatural sounds in the wind, fleeting glimpses in the shadows. The more I investigated, the more I realized how far they would go to control me. It all started with Elena's journal. I had found it hidden beneath the floorboards in our bedroom, tucked away like a secret she had been keeping. The journal was filled with notes about the werewolf cult, their rituals, and their twisted reverence for Lycaon. The cult was older than I had imagined, an ancient order dedicated to unlocking the full power of Lycaon's curse. They believed that by claiming the last living descendant of Lycaon, they could awaken the first werewolf from his eternal slumber and control the power he had once wielded. But why had they killed Elena? Why had they sought to drag me into their dark web? The answers were slowly coming together, but they were tangled, complex, and terrifying. I spent my nights scouring the city for answers, following the cryptic clues Elena had left behind. Her journal spoke of a hidden lair, deep in the mountains where the cult performed their most sacred rituals. It was a place where they sought to bind the bloodline of Lycaon to their own, where they hoped to unlock the true potential of the curse that flowed through my veins. But as I ventured deeper into the heart of the mountains, something else began to awaken within me. The transformation was no longer something I could suppress. It was coming for me, demanding that I embrace it, that I use it. The moon was full that night, casting an eerie glow across the jagged cliffs of the mountains. I could feel the familiar pull in my chest, the bone-deep ache that preceded the transformation. But this time was different. This time I wasn't afraid. I stepped into the clearing, feeling the air change around me. The night was alive with the sound of distant howls, the call of the beast that lay dormant inside me. My heart thundered in my chest as I felt the primal power coursing through my veins. And then I heard it. A voice, soft, whispering from the shadows. "You've finally come." I spun around, my senses sharpened, my eyes scanning the darkness. There, standing at the edge of the clearing, was a figure cloaked in black, their face obscured by a hood. "Who are you?" I growled, my voice low, full of the savage edge I had come to fear. The figure stepped forward, revealing a man, his face gaunt and pale, his eyes glowing with a familiar amber hue. He was a werewolf, but not like me. His body was skeletal, his form twisted by years of ritual and sacrifice. "I am Nicholas," he said, his voice cold and distant. "I am the one who will bring Lycaon back, and you are the key." It was then that I realized the truth. The cult had never intended to use me to control the curse. They had wanted to unlock its full power, to bring Lycaon's spirit back to life and bind it to the bloodline once more. Nicholas was their leader, the one who had orchestrated Elena's death, manipulating me into the trap he had set. He had known from the beginning that I was the last of Lycaon's line, and he had used my grief, my guilt, to pull me into their web. "I will make you a part of this," Nicholas continued, his eyes glinting with madness. "Together we will unleash the true power of the werewolf. You will be my vessel, and I will be your guide. No one will stand against us." I wanted to resist, to turn away from the man who stood before me, but something inside me surged. The beast, the curse, the blood that ran through my veins, it was all I had left, and it was calling me. I stepped forward, my claws extending, the transformation taking over. My body rippled with muscle and fur, my senses exploding into overdrive. But as I felt the animal inside me rise, I knew one thing for certain. I would not be a pawn in Nicholas's game. I would not let the curse control me. Instead, I would use it. Nicholas's laughter filled the clearing as he watched me embrace the beast within. But I was not the mindless monster he expected. I was something more. A man with the strength to wield the curse not as a weapon of destruction but as a tool for revenge. I lunged at him, my claws slashing through the air. Nicholas's eyes widened in surprise, but he was too slow. The transformation had made me faster, stronger, more in tune with the animal side of my nature. He was no match for me. I tore into him, my fangs sinking into his flesh, feeling his blood pour into my mouth as I pulled him to the ground. The cult leader struggled beneath me, but it was no use. The beast had taken over, and I would not stop until I had avenged Elena's death. The final blow came swiftly. I ripped through Nicholas's throat, silencing his cries as he gasped for breath, his body twitching beneath mine. And when it was over, when the last of his life drained away, I stood over him, breathing heavily, blood dripping from my claws. But there was no satisfaction in the kill, no relief. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, my body still trembling with the adrenaline of the hunt, my heart heavy with grief. Elena was gone, and I had nothing left but the curse. But as I turned to leave the clearing, I heard something, a whisper in the wind, an echo of a voice that had been lost to time. It was Lycaon's voice calling to me from the depths of the earth. "You are my legacy," it said, "and you will carry it for eternity." I would never escape the beast inside me. It was my bloodline, my curse. But I had learned to embrace it, to use it as a weapon, not just against the cult, but against all who would seek to destroy me. The days that followed Nicholas's death were a blur. The mountains, once a place of solitude and refuge, felt like a prison. I had destroyed the cult, but their legacy still clung to me like a shroud, their influence wrapping itself around my very soul. The full moon's pull was stronger than ever, and the beast inside me had become a constant presence lurking just beneath the surface. I could feel it in every fiber of my being, the hunger, the rage, the feral instinct that screamed for release. But this time it was different. This time I had a purpose. I had a reason to fight. I had no intention of returning to the life I once knew. Elena was gone, and with her, the last shred of my humanity. The beast, the curse, had consumed me, and I could never go back to being the man I was. But I could use it. I could use the power coursing through my veins to protect the world from the horrors I had come to understand all too well. I had become a monster, but I would not be the monster they had wanted me to be. It was in the dead of night that I returned to the city, to Argolis, where it all began. The streets were eerily quiet, bathed in the soft glow of the full moon. I walked through the darkened streets, my mind filled with the weight of what I had become. But I was not afraid. I was not afraid of the moon, nor the curse, nor the beast within me. I was afraid of what I had lost, and I was determined to honor it. The graveyard where Elena was buried was silent, save for the sound of the wind rustling the leaves of the ancient trees. I stood before her grave, the tombstone cold beneath my fingers. "Elena," I whispered, my voice breaking as the weight of my grief took hold. "I failed you." Tears stung my eyes, but I did not let them fall. The beast inside me had no place for weakness, no place for sentimentality. Yet in that moment I wished I could have been the man she had loved, the man who had once held her in his arms, the man who had promised to protect her. But I wasn't that man anymore. The night stretched on, and as I stood there, the moon high, above me, I felt the pull once again. The beast stirred, sensing the moment, sensing the sacrifice that I was about to make. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath, and when I opened them again, I saw what I had been waiting for. A figure stepped out from the shadows, cloaked in black, the unmistakable silhouette of a man, tall and imposing. "Damian," the figure spoke, his voice low and cold. "I knew you would come." I didn't need to ask who he was. I knew he was one of them. Another cult member who had escaped the purge, perhaps the last of them. "You were supposed to be mine," he continued, his tone mocking. "You were supposed to bring forth the true power of Lycaon, but you've betrayed the legacy. You've turned your back on what is rightfully yours." I stepped forward, my claws extending, my body rippling with the surge of power that came with the full moon. "I will never be your puppet," I snarled. "I've embraced the curse, not as a weapon for you, but as a weapon for me." The figure smirked. "You think you can control it? You think you can fight what you are? The beast will always win in the end." His words were like a poison sinking deep into my mind, but I didn't listen. I couldn't. The beast had taken control, yes, but so had I. I had learned to wield it, to use it for something greater than the destruction the cult had planned for me. I would not be the monster they had wanted me to be. The fight that ensued was brutal, savage, a clash of wills and strength. The figure was quick, his movements graceful and deadly, but he was no match for the rage that surged through me. Each strike, each blow I delivered was fueled by the memories of Elena, by the loss of everything I had ever known. I was no longer fighting for control. I was fighting for redemption. It ended as quickly as it had begun. The figure lay on the ground, his body broken, his life fading. I stood over him, panting, my heart still racing with the remnants of the battle. "You were wrong," I said, my voice steady now. "The beast doesn't control me. I control it." I turned away from the fallen cult member, my heart heavy with the knowledge of what I had done, what I had become. But as I walked away from the graveyard, I felt something shift within me, a sense of closure, of finality. I had avenged Elena. I had stopped the cult. I had embraced my legacy, not as a destroyer, but as a protector. The curse may never be broken, but it no longer ruled me. Thank you for surviving the horrors of the Last Lament of Lycaon. But remember, what you've witnessed tonight is just the beginning. The darkness you encountered here, it doesn't disappear. It only grows stronger. The curse of Lycaon lives on, waiting for the next soul foolish enough to seek the truth. And when they do, the beast will rise again. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so when the night comes, you'll be ready to face whatever monsters lurk in the dark. And as always, fear seekers, you can click on our Ultimate Werewolf playlist to watch more werewolf horror and cryptid stories. The link is in the description below, and remember, in the world of horror, the scariest things happen when you least expect them, and trust me, you don't want to be left in the dark. Welcome to the darkness.